This is DSMA Part 2. So Venn diagrams include sets. We'll have like a set A and a set B. Sometimes they overlap. Okay, so maybe set A are my lecture classes, set B are my online classes. So those two don't have any intersection normally, the way we talk about those two classes. However, if I include that I have lecture classes and then I have what we call online blended, which does both, and then online, then we do have what we call an intersection. So in the middle here are my classes that are both. They're both a lecture class and an online class. You don't go to the lecture as much as you do with a regular lecture class. And so we call those online blended. So this is called an intersection. Okay. For this first one, I didn't include those classes, and so I didn't have any intersection. The A and B were mutually exclusive, and they did not overlap at all. Okay, let's talk about unions. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have here. We have what we call the universe. This U is the universe. It's not the union. The universe is everything that's inside the rectangle. So it's going to be everything from A, everything from B, and everything outside of those two, right? And so each of these numbers is included in one set. So 1 and 6 are in set A, but not anywhere else. 8 and 12 in the middle are in both. They're in set A and set B. We're going to write that down in just a minute. Here, those three numbers, 13, 17, and 20, are only in set B. And finally, this 22 and 27, they're not in set A or set B, but they're still in my universe. All right, so let's start slowly. Let's look at the set A. So the set A is going to be the 1 and the 6 here that we can see are in set A, but also the 8 and the 12, right? Because those are, even though they're in both, they're in set A. If you only look at what's inside that circle for A, this big circle right here, we would include 8 and 12. So the set A has the elements 1, 6, 8, 12. All right, let's try B. So for B, we want everything inside the circle for B. So we have the 8 and the 12, even though it also belongs to A. And then here we have 13, 17, and 20. Okay. Let's just to do it, let's look at intersection. So for the intersection, remember that's what's in common. If I look at A intersection B, that would only be those two items in the middle. Those are the two items that are the overlap. Those elements are both in A and B. Okay, but that's not what the question's asking. The question wants everything. So we have to go along and grab absolutely everything, but the 8 and the 12, we're not going to count twice. We're only going to count them once. So we're going to grab everything from A. We're not going to double count 8 and 12, but we need the rest of B. And then we have to grab the two numbers that are outside of the sets. Okay, those are all the elements that are in U. Okay, so go ahead and look at this for a moment. We're going to do A and B. So for A, we want everything inside the circle because all of those are in the set A, even if they're also in B. Okay, so those 4 elements are in A. For B, we want everything in B, even the overlap. So again, we have, now we have 5 elements. We have 8, 10, 14, 18, 21. And that's all they want for this one. All right, let's look at number lines again. So this is asking me to label a number line. I'm going to start at 38 and go to 54, and I want to count by twos. Now, it's very important that we go in numerical order, okay? You have to start with the smallest number. That's going to be on the left-hand side. The largest is going to be on the right. So A, we go from 38 to 54. That's good, but the tick marks aren't right. Look, this is 38 and then 42. So that distance in between is 4. So that's not going to work. Let's see B. We've got 38 and 54. So we have our start point and our end point. And sure enough, if you look at the distance between these, they jump by 2 every time. So that one's going to work, I think. Let's keep going. Okay, C will not work. See how they had it 54 first and they go down to 38? That is not going to work. So C is no good. D is the same way. It starts with 54 and goes down to 38. Not going to work. All right, one last number line. So this time we want to go from 34 to 38, and we want to count by 0.5. All right, so when we start working on these with statistics, we might be adding by 0.5, we might be adding by 2.5. We're going to have all kinds of different, what we call standard deviations that we're going to add to these to constitute the tick marks. Okay, so same thing, the 34 has to be first because that's the smallest number. So A is not going to work because it starts with 38. C starts with 38. Okay, so B starts with 34 like it should, but notice the tick mark, it's jumping by ones, and we want to jump by 0.5. So B is not going to work. Let's just make sure C is right. So we start with 34. If we add 0.5, we get to 34.5. If we add 0.5 again, we get to 35, and so on. So D will work.